Hello, thank you for being here. In today's video, we are talking about ways to make school feel a little less brutal. Because let's be real, school can feel tough for a million reasons beyond just the content. Yeah, I'm talking to you, AP Physics. In the description box below, I'm gonna leave a link to a video for 10 tips on how to deal with hard classes. But today we're taking a step back and we're gonna talk about 9 tips that are hopefully gonna make school a little easier overall, whether you're in middle school, high school, college, or graduate school. Seriously, this is something that you don't wanna put off because school does not have to feel so hard. Hi, I'm Katie Azevedo of schoolhabits.com. I've been a teacher for nearly 20 years. I have a master's degree in special education, and I have taught thousands of students to learn and work smarter. And in order to learn and work smarter, we need to get in the habit of assessing ourselves, of saying what's working, what's not working, and then adjusting as needed. And that's why you're here today, because school is feeling harder than it needs to, and you're looking for something to do differently. You are in the right spot. All right, so 9 tips. We are gonna start with the most obvious one, and that is go to class. I know, this is a revolutionary idea that I obviously invented. But listen, skipping class just because it's hard and you're stressed out only makes everything so much harder in the long run. I honestly get it. Skipping a class in the moment feels like we are winning. Like, yay, oh my gosh, like I avoided the hard thing. But you know, as well as I know, that we are just piling on more anxiety and work down the road. So we are allowed to feel our feelings about school, about a class, about a teacher, about the work. We're allowed to have all of those feelings and go to class anyways. Because if you're gonna have those feelings of this is too hard and I don't like it and this whole experience is awful, those feelings are gonna exist, but you might as well go to class. Otherwise, the problem is gonna be bigger than if you just had the feelings. So show up, take notes, thank me later. And if you do miss class for a legitimate reason, life happens, all right, not a big deal. You just gotta make sure that you're doing the right steps to ensure that you're not gonna fall behind. So check your learning management system, email the teacher, look at your calendar and your schedule and find a time to stay after to make up for the time that you missed. It's when we don't do these things that school gets so much harder. Tip number 2, ask for help before you're totally confused. I know this can be hard for some people, but waiting until you're totally confused before you ask for help makes everything harder. It is so easy to tell ourselves that, you'll understand it later, that somehow you'll learn it by the time the test rolls around, but that never happens. And telling yourself that story is delusional. When does that ever pan out? If you're confused about something now, you're gonna be confused about it later. So whether you ask a teacher, you Google it, you ask your friend, you watch a video, do not wait. Clarify things now. Ask for help now. Because so much of our content in school is built on prior content. So if you're confused on this little thing, all the things that are built on that will become nearly impossible to understand because you were missing this little building block. A little confusion now leads to a lot of confusion later, kind of like compound interest, but minus all the money at the end. All right, tip number 3, look at the big picture. Sometimes school feels hard because, wait for it, life is hard. If other stuff outside of school is stressing you out, then yes, school itself is gonna feel so much harder than it really is. So you gotta ask yourself, are you overloading on activities? Do you have a job outside of school that's consuming too much time? Are you sleeping well enough? Are you struggling with something socially with your friends? Or are you eating well? These are all the things that we need to consider outside of, our role in the classroom that can make our role in the classroom feel worse. When our basic needs aren't being met, school is gonna feel like, climbing up a mountain on your knees. It's all weird, but you know what I'm saying. Take care of yourself, and school, as a result, will feel easier. Tip 4, stop procrastinating. Listen, it's tough love time. If you're a procrastinator, you need to stop. Like knock it off. I told you tough love. It's not like I don't procrastinate. Of course I do. I don't live on another planet. I know how good procrastination feels in the moment, but it's one thing to know that and it's another thing to use that information wisely. So you gotta start being honest with yourself. Acknowledge when you are procrastinating and putting something off. We have to stop telling ourselves these stories that what we're doing is not procrastination. Oh, I'm actually just working on this other thing. Well, I actually didn't have time for that. 9 9 times out of 10, those stories are baloney. They're protective, they make us feel good. But if you're at the point where you're like, oh my gosh, school feels so hard and I need to go to YouTube to watch a video on how to make school easier, and you're still procrastinating, then you gotta start there. You gotta start by putting some strategies in place so that the procrastination isn't your default. We're not gonna be perfect. Sometimes you're gonna get it right, sometimes you're not. That's perfectly fine. But we've got to stop believing that delusional story that waiting for the last second to do everything is fine, because it's not. Because it won't be fine, right? Like, you not doing the essay will not be fine. You not doing the reading assignment will not be fine. You not turning in that thing will not be fine. Staying up all night because you procrastinated on the thing never feels fine. Procrastination is a major reason why school feels so hard. I have many practical resources to help you fight procrastination, whether you have ADHD or don't have ADHD. The reason I mentioned that is because many people with ADHD struggle with procrastination more than people who don't have ADHD. It hits all of us, for sure. But there's biological reasons why procrastination is like a hallmark characteristic of someone with ADHD. Those resources I'm gonna link in the description box. If you do not have time to watch them now, then at least click on them, bookmark them so you can watch them later. Don't procrastinate on that one, okay? All right? Here's a fun one. Tip number 5, use your class time wisely. I can't even tell you how many times a student will walk into my office and they're so overwhelmed and they're in tears with all of the work that they have to do. And we sort of like sort through it and we like get clarity on what the things are, and we realize that half the work they could have knocked out during class time, right? So much of the work that's missing or that they're overwhelmed with is work that they were actually given time in class to complete. Now, why didn't they? Because in most cases, they could get away with not doing it. Nobody noticed. They could go through the actions, just like pop the browser down and pop it back up when the teacher walked by, or maybe there was a substitute teacher. A million reasons why you can get away with not doing the classwork in class. But genuine question, who are you fooling? Like, how does that serve you? Again, tough love, I'm sorry, but that's my approach. If you're here because school feels hard and you are desperate for strategies to make it feel less hard, it's one thing to listen to these strategies and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do that. It's another thing to put them in action. And if you're listening to this right now and you're like, yeah, you know what? I do procrastinate. You know what? I don't use my class time well, and that's me. This is where you stop, okay? Because school can feel so much easier. There's gonna be parts of school that you can't control. The social stuff, that can be hard. So many parts of school can feel really hard for reasons that are, I'd say, more beyond your control, but all of the things I'm talking about here are absolutely well within your control, that you have the power to change. Use your class time wisely. Also, this can go back, I forget what tip it is at this point, but to ask for help before you're totally confused. If you're using your class time wisely, that gives you the opportunity to work with the material to find out if you're confused in the first place, and you're sitting in class when that confusion hits, so that's when you can ask the teacher or the professor for help. All right, tip number 6, get organized. School gets so much harder when we're disorganized. I have a lot of resources to help you get your school life organized, whether that's organizing your notes, your binders, your bags, or just like your routines. And if you want to dive deeper into this, I cover organization extensively in School Habits University, which is my online course that teaches time management, study skills, task management, note-taking, annotation, and organization. You have lifetime access to the entire course and 12 months of Q&A access to me. I will leave that link in the show notes. Because staying on top of your organization can honestly make, and not just for school, this is like for life and for work and all the phases of your life, can make everything so much easier. Specifically, the 3 areas I want you to organize are your time, your tasks, and your space. But think about this for a second. If you're disorganized, you're gonna be stressed out. And what happens when we're stressed out? Everything, even the simple things, feel impossible. If your time is not organized, you're going to be stressed out, which makes school harder. If your tasks aren't organized, you're going to be missing assignments, turning them in late, or doing them last minute, and then that makes school harder. If your space is disorganized, you're not going to be able to find what you need. You're going to be missing your things. You're going to feel overstimulated and overwhelmed by your work environment, and that makes school harder. Do not underestimate the power of maintaining basic organization in those 3 areas, time, tasks, and space, to make your school experience less terrible. Tip number 7, take the right courses. School can feel a lot easier or a lot harder depending on the level courses you're taking. If you are overloading on classes that are too challenging, or not even too challenging, but challenging, or overloading on classes that are underwhelming, so not challenging enough, you're gonna hit a motivational wall either way. The goal is to find a sweet spot between classes that challenge you and keep you interested. You also want to consider how many challenging courses you're taking at one time, because you might be able to handle a really high level, let's just say AP Physics, for example, no problem at all. But then if you pile that AP Physics class on with an AP Lang and an AP History, then everything feels that much harder. So it's not just in isolation the difficulty level of a single course. You need to look at your course load and say, okay, collectively, with all of the courses I'm taking, what is the collective difficulty level of all of my courses? So you gotta work with your school counselor to figure out, okay, I wanna eventually take all these courses, or maybe working toward, if you're in college, working toward a major, you have certain courses that you have to take in order to graduate with your major, but maybe it makes sense if there's, let's say, you're taking advanced algorithmic physics, maybe you're gonna take that first semester and advanced computing second semester so that you're not taking them at the same time. All right, and this also goes back to an earlier tip I was talking about, which is like zone out a little bit and zoom out, no zoning out, zoom out and see the big picture, right? School can feel harder when everything else in our outside life is feeling harder. So you might be able to handle advanced algorithmic physics. I think I'm making that up, but maybe you can't handle that at the same time that you're doing an internship. So you have to look at how all of the puzzle pieces fit together to make like the puzzle of your school experience. Nothing happens in isolation. Tip number 8, make a plan for getting your work done. If you want to make school feel easier, we've got to stop guessing when and where we're going to complete our work. When we know what we're going to do and where we're going to do it, we feel less stressed and more in control. And that, my friend, is the key to making school feel easier. So can you make a plan that generally looks the same from week to week? Now, most students, especially in college, have a different schedule each day, but like every Monday will look the same, every Tuesday will look the same as every other Tuesday, every Wednesday is gonna look the same as every other Wednesday. You know what I mean? So can you make a plan where every Monday after this class, you go here to do your work, and this is the type of work you do on Monday. On Wednesdays, you know, you have a class in the morning and the class in the evening. This, again, if you're in like college or graduate school, well then every Wednesday that looks like that, can you plan to do this type of work in this location? All right, if you're in high school, something similar can happen with you too, but every day is pretty much gonna look the same. But let's take the guesswork out of what we're doing and when we're doing it, because not having clarity over our time and what we're doing with our time can make us feel more stressed. Okay, and finally, tip number 9. Fix your mindset. Now listen, before you roll your eyes, I know that mindset can sound a little woo-woo. I used to just turn my back on anything that was mindset related and not action based, because I was always like, it's about the action first. But my friend, I have learned, I have been humbled, and mindset truly is everything. Because if you believe that there is absolutely nothing that you can do to make your school experience easier, then you are 100% right. And that is called a fixed mindset, and it's not serving you, right? But if you believe in your heart of hearts, which I think you do because you're watching this video, that there is something that you can do to make your school experience easier, then you are absolutely correct. That is called a growth mindset, and it is magic. So after you're done watching this video, I want you to pick 2 strategies that you can implement right away. Don't roll your eyes and go back to doing the same old thing, because doing the same old thing over and over and over again is what you got to hear in the first place. Growth happens when we take action. All right, so there you have it, my friends, 9 tips to make school easier. I know the idea of implementing all of these tips might feel overwhelming, but as I just suggested, just pick 1 or 2 and start there. Let me know in the comments which tip you plan on trying. That'll give you some accountability. If you have any questions on any of the tips here at all, ask your questions in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more ways to make school hurt a little less. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And always, thank you for watching.